Welcome to The Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah.
I'm Michael Judson Barry. I am an actor, writer, influencer? Question mark. I'm still learning what that term means. Because when we went into lockdown, I created a TikTok Instagram show called Quarantine Time, which has inexplicably gone very well. So that's what I do now, is write my little parody show for TikTok and Instagram. It's basically, I do a parody of Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek, Catherine O'Hara's iconic character. And early in lockdown, I realized I could do, I guess, a fairly impressive impression of her very specific accent. And so I thought, well, actors have no work right now. So I have a smartphone and it has a camera on it. And my roommate has a couple of wigs in the bottom of his closet. So I thought, how fun would it be if Moira Rose had her own little pandemic talk show where she had a cup of tea and gave her very specific perspective on life in lockdown. And so, yeah, for just about a year now, I've done a couple episodes every week. And every week she's sort of tackling a different theme of, depression in lockdown, or like finding new hobbies, or trying to remember to exercise. But again, with her always being, like if I was intended to do push-ups, there would be diamonds on the ground, those sort of moments. Almost all, I'm up to, I want to say 30 wigs. I just got another new wig this weekend because I did Dolly Parton for the first time. Because now, I think I have over 20 characters that I've now added to the Tea Time cast. So it's Moira, the whole Rose family, and then plus many original and then celebrity impressions. Most of them come from this place called BSW Beauty. It's up in Syracuse, New York, is the location that I go to because it's near my parents, and I visit them all the time now. And they're very nice, and they've been open. So I'll wander around and be like, who looks like it could be Cher or Britney? And then Moira herself. Yeah, I think I have like 25 different wigs just for her. A newfound respect for drag queens. Originally, they all were basically shoved into a Wegmans bag, like a to-go Wegmans bag. And then a friend of mine who does wigs, he works on Broadway shows, and he's a wig designer. He was horrified. He saw them and he was like, "Are you kidding?" So now they're all in their own individual wig bags, which kind of look like shoe bags, but they're now styled in wig bags, which are also now stacked inside the Wegmans bag. But at least they're in their own little individual cases, and they look much nicer now. The writing process, it's sort of in the moment. I try, to shoot for at least 2 episodes per week, and I don't plan that far in advance. Like this last one I did just because I just got vaccinated, which was very exciting. And I had the Moderna one, which I know Dolly Parton gave a lot of money to. And I was like, well, obviously Moira Rose and Dolly Parton would know each other. So I came up with it in a moment where I was like, well, sure, Moira will call Dolly and say thank you for contributing to the vaccination cause. And that's where I just kind of came up with that. And for her, I looked up Dolly Parton quotes. And so every one of Dolly's line is a direct Dolly Parton quote. And I was like, well, how can I work these into a legitimate conversation, and how would Moira respond to each of these? So that's how I do with her. Same thing with Britney, with Cher. If it's a celebrity, I do try and have it so it feels authentic. When it's the Roses or an original character, then it's just sort of, like with the royal family, that Oprah interview with Prince Harry. I was like, well, Alexis talks about how she dated Harry, so how would the family respond to that? And then it's just, trying to capture the tone from the show. How would Alexis and David respond to this, given that they were friends with them? I definitely the big Facebook Schitt's Creek fan clubs all know who I am, and they share my videos, and it's very exciting. I've definitely had a lot of people say that they feel like I'm season 7, and they make the end of the show, definitely makes it a little bit easier. And what's amazing is the amount of people I've gotten who follow me and respond and say, like, I have no idea who this character is that you're doing, but it's really funny and I love it. And then will message me like 2 months later and they're like, oh, I'm now watching Schitt's Creek. and I now really appreciate what you're doing. Um, so those are actually really exciting when I get somebody who just thinks it's funny on its own, and then they go watch the show after, and inevitably love the show because Schitt's Creek is fantastic. I am very rarely at a loss for words. Friends that know me know, like, I ramble. I'm the person that leaves you a 5-minute voicemail. And that, I think, was the first time in a long time I actually was speechless. Yeah, a friend sent me the interview when the interviewer, I think, just basically said, like, how does it feel to have created such an iconic accent that people such as Michael Judson imitate? And she was like, oh, I've seen him. He's great. His writing is really good. And this accent's really hard, but he somehow gets it. And he's really funny. And she directly referenced a couple of the more obscure videos I'd done. It's like, she not only watches these, but she thinks they're great. And I've been a fan of hers since well before Schitt's Creek. I've loved her since, the Christopher Guest movies, SCTV clips, Beetlejuice, Home Alone, all of that stuff. So she's been a hero of mine for a long time. So the fact that she knows who I am and she likes my impression of her, I swear, I read the article and almost dropped my phone, and I'm pretty sure I almost walked into traffic too. I was like, it was like death by praise. It was very exciting. Yeah, I always say it's like, it would be like if Einstein called you up and was like, you're really good at math. It's like, she's just so brilliant. Blew my mind. So, because I'm not that tech savvy and I'm really not that social media savvy. Before all of this, I had Instagram and Facebook, and I didn't even use either of them that much. Instagram almost was a way to just like keep up with my friends and, share pictures and see where, someone went on vacation. Woohoo. So it's kind of a running joke with my friends that of all of us, I was the one that somehow managed to pop on social media because I'm like our token grandpa. Like, I have a lot of cardigans and I love black and white movies. They're like, how? I think getting started, it kind of isn't luck, I'll say, but the timing was just, we all went into lockdown, so we all were on our phones a lot. And Schitt's Creek is a comforting thing that was, huge. And I happened to do an impression of one of the characters that's very difficult. So I think what helped too is every sketch that I write, even still, my mom told me, I think when I first started to become popular, she was like, keep this positive, because that's what we all need right now. So a lot of them, basically, I was like, what's sort of a hopeful message that I can put into every one of these? And so I know like a lot of kids follow me now. And this is what my sister calls me, Mr. Rogers in a wig. Because she was like, you're like a children's show for grown-ups via this character. So yeah, it still blows my mind that I somehow have become a thing on social media. Because like recently my friend had to teach me how Twitter works so I could tweet my videos because it was confusing to me. So I'm still, with each video I learn a little bit more. Beautiful film called Milkwater. It's my first, before the lockdown, I primarily did theater. This is my first movie, which is very exciting. Yeah, it will be streaming. I don't know, I can't say which platform yet, but one of the, 3 major platforms that things stream on, hopefully within the next month or so. But yeah, it's called Milkwater. It's about this young woman named Milo, who's played by Molly Bernard from TV's Younger, which I know a lot of people know her from. And so she plays this woman in her early to mid 30s who sort of has that moment where she looks around and all of her other friends are adulting much better than she is. They're married, they have kids, they have stable jobs. And she, like, I can definitely relate to this, has not sort of found her path yet. And so kind of rashly, she decides to be a surrogate for this older gay man that she meets in a bar who's desperate to have a kid. And she just thinks, this will solve her problems. She will create new life and that will be her thing. And so you follow her over the course of the pregnancy. And it's just really interesting to see the surrogate process from her perspective, from the perspective of the woman actually having the baby. And you see how this does actually help her find who she is and how it affects her friendships and her relationships and the relationship with the man that she has the baby for. So it's really interesting. And Molly is fabulous in this movie. So, and I play her, so her best friend is played by Robin De Jesus, who's, big Broadway star, Tony-nominated actor. And I play his boyfriend named Teddy, who originally was this pretty small part. He was Tinder Ted, and he was like a Tinder date. And then I got on set. It was a very last minute audition, last minute casting. And Morgan, our brilliant writer director, let me improvise a little bit and thought I was funny. And so she just sort of kept working me into more and more of the movie, to where now Teddy's like in the big climactic scenes and all this stuff. And I'm just sort of running around in teeny tiny shorts and a crop top, which was freezing because we shot it in the winter. But it was fun. He's basically this just sweet, very like optimistic, lovely guy who just is this little voice of reason from time to time, since he's outside of their friend group. He's like, have you thought about this? Like, so it was a lot of fun. It's a really lovely movie. It was so fun. I love doing theater. You know, my master's is in Shakespeare, and I've done, I did the national tour of Spamalot for over a year, and which was really fun. And there is that great, most of what I've done is comedy. So it's great when you make a joke and you can hear the audience laugh and you can feel their energy and kind of play off of it. But I loved being on set though. I thought it was really fun. And I do like that you get multiple takes. That was great for when you forget your line in that moment. And instead of just standing there having a mild panic attack, you can just yell cut and then go again. And especially with this group of actors, it was great because we could kind of play and improvise a little bit. And there was something really freeing about being like, I'm just going to give the director, I'm just going to give you 15 different takes, and they're all going to be totally different. And you and the editing group, you guys choose which, what you think tells the story the best. And in that sense, I could, it takes a lot of pressure off of the actor. I think you can sit back and just kind of have fun, and just trust that the crew will make you look good. Dream project. I just finished watching Ted Lasso, and I know they have 2 seasons coming up. So, and that might be my new favorite show. It's so funny. It reminds me of Schitt's Creek because it's so funny, but so heartfelt. Like it's one of those shows where you're crying and laughing, but you still feel like it just makes you feel happy and good. I love Ted Lasso. So if anyone from Ted Lasso is out there listening, I have a passport. I'll fly to the UK. I will go anywhere you want. I'll be, extra number 4 to be on that show. Also, like if SNL is looking for a sketch writer, you let them know that I'm very available, and I've now written a lot of them. And then I'm writing a project. I have 2 other pilot type projects that I'm writing with 2 different actors, but one in the UK and one in LA. So if any New York people want to collaborate in my time zone, that would be great. But no, that's really fun because I'd never really written before. And now over the last year, I've written almost 120 sketches and have learned a lot about writing and gained a lot of confidence. So now I think that's where I'm putting a lot of energy these days, into these 2 other collaborations, and we'll see where those go. Social media, I'm M Judson Berry, MJUDSON Berry, on Instagram and TikTok, and on YouTube, on the YouTubes. Michael Judson Berry or Quarantine Time, you can find me there. And on Twitter, M Judson 1 Berry, because I believe M Judson Berry was taken from when I created an account in college and didn't know how to delete it and can't figure out how to access it. So I took the name from myself. So I'm on there as well.
Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.